So Rob Durham, how was the ride here?
It was fine. It kind of reminded me of the last few gigs I've done.
Yeah.
Where it's interstate for a while, head south, and then
Where
remote.
Where you been performing?
I did an Elks at Cedar Hills last weekend. I'm going to Macon, Missouri. That's actually Missouri on Saturday.
Macon, wow. I know Macon, Georgia. That's where like the Allman Brothers Band Museum is.
It's somewhere out towards Columbia, and then you head north another hour or so. And
I don't like the sounds of that at all.
no, I don't. I don't know why I booked it. Well, money. And then, geez, where was I before? I don't even remember. It was. I've done 2 Elks lodges recently, and they like to smoke inside.
Yeah, I'm a smoker myself, but I don't like if it's just me. I only take a puff or 2, and then I put it out. But if somebody's sitting there right next to me smoking and drinking,
I had to shower when I got home. It was thick. They laughed at me for wearing a mask, and like, you trying to rob the place? It's like, no. I know it's still 2002 here, but
yeah. What are they, like private clubs?
Yeah. Yep.
I did the VFW hall a while back. A bunch of bikers and stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't do Trump or politics jokes.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
I've got a show in Cape Girardeau this weekend, and in Centraville. I don't know. It's like a comedy
sounds
competition.
familiar.
Yeah, there's a competition and then just a regular showcase.
Yeah.
So, some driving. I didn't realize what I signed up for until they're like, all right, this is where the show's at. I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But so what is your prejudice against shorts?
It's not professional. I mean,
not professional.
Look at that.
I'm a surfer dude. I came from the islands and shit. I can't wear pants when I'm surfing.
That's true.
How professional can you be then?
Just on stage, it's just your legs are kind of elevated, and men's legs are
ugly.
Ladies, they have a different rule, but
When I seen this book that you wrote, by the way, he's the author of Don't Wear Shorts on Stage, and I seen you do what is it? Don't take shots with strangers.
Yes,
while on
that was
vacation.
the last one. Yeah, don't do shots with strangers. The all-inclusive guide, all-inclusive vacations.
How did you do that? I guess you and your wife did some traveling.
Yeah, we instead of having kids, we take those all-inclusive trips once or twice a year.
That's how we did our wedding.
Yeah, it's the way to go. And yeah, it's happened a few times where some dude that's much bigger than me, like he's like, oh, let's sample some tequilas, and then I miss dinner. So like we think we're big drinkers or whatever, but no, we can't hang with these pros. So
yeah, me and my wife when we first met, we definitely were. We were the type. We met at a bar, and then we always went out. And then we got together and we're like, all right, no need to go out anymore. And now we look at our friends and we're like, how did we do that? How did we afford that back then? So, but we like to stay at home. I have a bar down here and I've had the same booze for months. Besides when Quentin's over, he knows how to drink.
yeah, Quentin likes to drink or so.
Quentin's pretty good at that. So, how long have you actually been doing it, and how long was it before you wrote your book?
My comedy birthday was last week. Just turned 21 years doing it, nice. And the book came out December 2011. So I guess it was halfway through my career. I had not even featured at the Funny Bone yet.
Really?
So I'd featured at some other clubs and one-nighters, but looking back, it was a bit premature, although most of it doesn't focus on headlining. Headliners aren't reading a book on how to do stuff. So it's basically just how to get into it. I didn't really write it as a beginner's guide, but that's kind of where the audience was, and I should have known.
No, it's definitely great and unique compared to all the other ones. Like I've dabbled in the Greg Dean's. I messed around and just had the audio version. And then I realized, he's like, no, go to your work page or your worksheet. I was like, I didn't get in a worksheet. Fuck this. And then I've watched a lot of videos and audio books and stuff like that, TED Talks, stuff like that, so when I'm working. Because if I read, I've been reading this one since I got the hard copy, but I'm learning you've done a lot of your videos kind of.
Yeah.
You touch base on each talk.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the book didn't cover that I blogged for several years every week almost. with stuff that it's either mentioned in the book or just stuff to elaborate on or things I didn't think of, or somebody do something stupid at open mic. I'm like, well, I'm going to write an article about that, which, you know.
Well, you say you should have enough for volume 2 next, right?
Yeah, I've thought about a re-release because there's a few things that need update. Like at the end, it's like, get your credit card swiper, and it's like right before the Square app came out. It's like, oh, geez.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, there's a couple things my editor missed in there, but, you know, I don't think anybody cares. So
Right on.
it's... I've thought about. I don't want to seem like those professors, though. They're like second edition.
Yeah.
And plus, the Word file's erased for this. Like my computer got a virus a couple months after I published this. I was like, thank God that happened. So I wasn't even using Google Drive back then.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've lost a couple episodes of the podcast. Luckily, they're up on YouTube, and I figured out how to download them back from YouTube, which took like 2 or 3 days because I'm just not computer savvy. I'm a carpenter. Hammer, nails, wood. I can build whatever you need.
Yeah.
If it doesn't take electricity. If it, you know. But
yeah, we all have these clouds of info that are just like when we die that are gonna just.
Well, I was just read. I read the science stuff that comes out all the time. It's like one of the big ones, and like they were just talking about how since they've been measuring like your thoughts or frequencies, which is energy that does get released and it goes somewhere, and they believe it gets stuck somewhere in this invisible cloud. Is like this hypothesis that I was reading in the science article. I was like, what the? And then I'm like thinking of all the hippy dippy Akashic record stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I guess that's the Hindu religion. They believe in that, like all knowledge is kept in one place, and if you meditate, you can tap into it. I believe. So
Star Wars, basically, the Force. All right.
Yeah, and they were just like the other article the other day was that the Navy intelligence released that they do have a patent and a machine prototype that can alter the fabric of reality. A machine, a ship, and it was just a headline because I was just going through the headlines and it's like, what? What does this mean?
No.
And it's like you guys really are trying to push some conspiracy theorists go blow their minds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love the alien stuff though that's come out recently.
Yeah,
that one's really been entertaining, but until I see hard evidence.
Yeah, I mean they're out there, but it's like it's so far, so many light years away.
Yeah, there has to be. Or what is it? Carl Sagan says it's either there's a bunch of them or there's not any. And
yeah,
are unique.
I'm gonna my buddy, one of my best friends, just got promoted to colonel in the Air Force. Like that's like a number 3 in Stratego. He is up there now.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, once he retires and gets really old, I'm gonna get him drunk and get all these secrets out of him.
Oh yeah. You let me know. I'll pay.
He likes a drink. We'll get him.
Because that's some of the stuff that's recently come out is the Commander Fravor or whatever. He's an Air Force pilot, fighter jet that came on Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman. And he took the video and chased the Tic Tac video that the Pentagon released like 9 months ago. They said that they have recovered an unearthly made vehicle. And they released 3 UFO videos that were shot in military planes. Yeah, and then you had the omnibus spending bill that was Trump signed, which put a 180-day countdown for all the intelligence agencies to gather their all the evidence and all the knowledge they have on it to be able to present it to Congress and Senate. And that's going to be in July or whatever.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
finally some good news.
Yeah, so I was like. For a long time, I was like, I always thought aliens were cool, but then I don't know. I don't get into too many conspiracies besides like the CIA files that get released and redacted. It's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
Because I remember being told as a kid, my stepdad told me about, because he lived down here as a little kid, and I believe somebody in his family was affected by all the chemicals that they were spraying. And the syphilis injections. They told him it was a vaccine or whatever, and they injected a bunch of the poor black communities because my stepdad's black. And they injected all of them with syphilis and then wouldn't treat them after they found penicillin.
Well, and we were like, why won't they take the vaccine now? It's like, I don't know.
Exactly. So I remember hearing that as a kid. I was like, no way our government wanted. They're the good guys. We're the good guys. And then after you start seeing more and more, and like you heard about the MK Ultra, I remember seeing that one the movie about like kind of
Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, like how it goes into like the MK Ultra kind of ties to that. And when I was told about that first, I was like, what? No. And they're like, yeah, there's actual documents about it. I was like, oh.
What you said about being the good guys, Andrew Frank, do you know him?
No.
He moved to Chicago. He's a very funny comedian.
Okay.
Moved to Chicago, and he had one about how our drones are called the Predator. He's like, does that sound like something the good guys have? The Predator blow people up without even pilots.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's well, my brother went off and did 2 tours, and I don't know. I've always been the rebellious type, I guess, because I couldn't join. I thought about it, and then I was like, no, that's not enough money to get shot at.
No.
And then
Yeah.
I don't know why I grew up, because both my parents are Democrats, and I always grew up just thinking, I was like, they look both guilty to me. Like, it's both criminal. And then when they hit high school, I was like, you guys are just arguing over who's the less evil. Like,
Yeah.
choose the least of the lesser of the 2 evils. I was like, what kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
Where are we going? And then we got Trump, and it was like, well, shit. See, this is what happens.
Yeah. I don't know if we've hit a rock bottom, or I don't know.
I give him the fact that he did manipulate that market really well.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to crash 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I went to college for, was finances. And like the whole GameStop stuff you've been seeing.
Oh, yeah.
I've loved that. It's given me like
Yeah.
a boner this whole time, because I was like, now you're starting to see people talk about stocks and
Yes.
stuff. And you really want to see someone's mind get blown? Let me start talking about stocks and the financial market and the GDP and the national debt to GDP
Yeah.
ratio. They're like, oh, is he fucking with me? Like, is he just a really good talker?
Yeah. Well, you see those commercials for all those apps, and they make you think like, I should be getting rich for doing nothing. And honestly, if you pay attention, I have high school kids that were all over this stuff, and they're like, Dogecoin, man. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
how do
made some money on the Dogecoin.
I'm trying to get into it. It took me 3 days to get my PayPal to link up to this stupid
Oh,
app that I
yeah.
got. But
Yeah, I hooked it right up to the bank.
am I late on the Doge?
No. Well, they're still pumping it. I mean, it's still up there. It was in it was like 0.3 of a penny. And then
Yeah.
they've got it up to like 7 or 8 cents, I believe, right now. This morning it was up to there. I trust Bitcoin. I played with the Doge, and I used to throw all my leftover, because I was like, I had $50, $60. Anytime I would buy like an option or something like that, I'd have a couple bucks left over, because I was able to get it a little cheaper. I'd throw it at Doge, because it was such a small penny stock, and you can't really. That was the only penny stock on the app that you could really play with, and you could trade at any time. It was basically gambling. That's really what the crypto was when you're at that level. It was just a fun thing to kind of relax after putting all this research into looking through the filings of some company, and then it turns out it doesn't work for you because. But yeah, the Doge, it could be. You had Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, Snoop. You had all of these people pumping it, which is crazy. I can't believe that nothing's being done about the pump and dump, because that was a big problem. It always has been.
Yeah.
A big problem we have on YouTube. You get these stock gurus, these guys that try to tell you sign up with them, and they teach you this class and how to trade penny stocks and stuff like that. And what they really do is they just get thousands of followers. And they all get to follow. They pay a monthly subscription, and then he updates his watch list every week. And basically, what he puts on their watch list is the penny stock in the OTC market that's real shady and doesn't have to report to the SEC, and is super low float. So they'll go in there and buy thousands of shares, and then put it on their watch list. Then all these thousands of followers will go and get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it drives the price up.
Yeah.
They dump them. It's just a complex pump and dump scheme.
Yeah.
It's just like what our hedge funds do it just on the NASDAQ and the S&P. And we've seen it firsthand with Melvin. They could have made plenty of money. They could have sold when that stock was down at $1 or $2 for a while. It was there for a while, and they shorted it, and they were well in the profits. But they didn't, and they let those Reddit guys come in there and squeeze the hell out of them, and they lost billions. I think it was $7 billion or something like that. It was
ridiculous.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's just, like I said, it's going to cause more. It's just going to hurt the little guy, because they're going to come in and they're going to regulate us even more. We already had the PDT rule, to where if you can't trade more than 3 times. You can't buy and sell a contract or a stock more than 3 times in one day if you didn't have more than 25,000 in your account. And that was to protect us. Yeah, the rich guy can go in and do 1 million trades with these computers within a minute, and it's fine. But the biggest thing I didn't get about it was this hedge fund. The first word of this thing is a hedge fund. Look up what hedge means.
Yeah.
It means like securing your bet and your
Yeah, I
investment.
know how to hedge a gamble. You got a 3-game parlay.
Yeah, they didn't. They all in on one short. It's like the most risky bet in the market to do. Like they didn't do like an iron condor or anything like that to like kind of hedge it. Like they're supposed to be a hedge fund. They're supposed to be diversified and everything. So that's why I was like, why aren't they looking into that? And like that's where it needs to be investigated. That and the clearinghouses that charge Robinhood, like I think they hit him with like he needed $10 billion to be able to open up and still be allowed to keep the app open and allow trading. And the clearinghouse is just like the amount of stocks sold. He has to be able to front the money or whatever, or the risk. It's really sketchy because it's a private organization that this thing is ran through. And they get to decide, and they try to pump up the numbers, which just basically made them halt the trading on the GameStop to where nobody could buy. All they could do was sell it to drive the price down to help them fucking the hedge funds. Yeah. And I was like, they're talking about it being Robinhood's fault. It's the clearinghouse's fault. That's who it was. They called up that morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're like, yeah, we need $10 billion right now. Dude was like, what? Like, I can't. And he had to raise $10 billion within like a couple hours before the market opened. So it was real sketchy. The whole thing was sketchy. But anyways, enough about that. I don't know. You can't talk about that around me. So what was it? Yeah. So you 21 years, right? Is that what we said?
21 years.
How long did it take before it actually clicked and you figured it out?
I guess I found my voice, which is one of those weird things, around year 7 or 8. I'm kind of a late bloomer in everything in life. So I emceed basically exclusively for 5 or 6 years. I hardly even got any middle because I was like, I'm not, I just always picture myself as where I am. No self-confidence.
You look pretty confident on stage.
Well, no, but back then, I don't know. It was, I think around year 11 or 12, I wasn't looking back and going, what was I doing last year? Good Lord, look at that set. And now I'm nice and complacent. So
you figured out a formula. It took you 7 years?
Just having stuff to write. You just have to have good jokes.
Yeah.
And your joke writing gets better and your performing gets better. And to be able to do enough reps that you go into autopilot. And you can see an open mic when I'm trying new or anyone's trying new, you can see their brain isn't focused on the performance, but remembering the words. Mm-hmm. And you can rehearse all you want. You do see those new comics that come out and they're very overly rehearsed. And it's like, oh, geez, you're timing this as if there's an audience responding.
Yeah.
I
was there. I was in there.
Yeah, we all were. You just feel them in their living room or looking in a mirror rehearsing. But when you can get into autopilot, you can, adjust little words here and eye contact with the crowd and just timing and experiment little things.
Yeah, that's how you can mainly tell when someone's super rehearsed.
I have
they're not paying attention.
Yeah, this little game in my head that says, how far can we stray? Like I have these internal thoughts as I'm saying lines. Like, what else can we think about? This little song and dance, this little game that my brain plays sometimes.
You're not the. I was just watching this. Excuse me. I gotta turn this thing off. We're out of line. I keep hearing it. I don't know what it's on. I'm gonna be trying to edit that. I'm like, what the hell is it? All right. But yeah, I just watched this. You remember Ralphie May?
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
He's got like an hour and 47-minute long video on YouTube where he's just sitting down talking to a bunch of new comedians. And he talks about this game he plays that a lot of comedians will play a game in their head when they're performing. Like what you basically just said. It's like, I've heard this game thing. Yeah.
All right, so
he's like, he does points. His system is points. He's like, if I can think of something to tag it, that's new, that's 3 points. If I can do a callback, that's 5 points. Yeah. And just the whole game that he plays, and it helps you kind of get it, just.
Sometimes I'll kind of announce. I don't even keep that a secret. Like if I do callbacks, I did. Remember Max? You know Max Price? Mm-hmm. We did a bachelorette party outside the cabin before COVID last year, but Max got he got a standing ovation. He did 30 and got a stand.
Nice.
Like, and then they all went and got bottles of Tito's. But I was like, oh, geez. And so I was like, well, this is going to be goofy. So I kept doing callbacks and announcing, and we kept like a running total of callbacks. And I was writing, just going up as I went just to force them in. But I have jokes where I realize where people die or pets die in them. And so I build a cemetery during my set now.
Oh, okay.
Or like we buried him right next to there, and then it keep going back. And we buried him right next to the dog and the 6-year-old from that other joke.
And how long have you had that before you actually incorporated in the working?
I'm trying to think when it's only the last few years. I don't know. I haven't written nearly as much, and I'm sure there are people like, oh, there's comics do get to a point. A lot of us, especially if we're not trying to make it in LA or anything. We get our set and we don't write as much as we should, because you got to go out to open mic on Tuesday. And I have a day job, I teach high school. So it's
what do you teach?
Language arts.
So you really know how to break everything down. Like the whole thing of a sense of if you look at Jerry Corley or Greg Dean or any of these guys that a lot of people are watching now on the formula that they're using to write jokes. They take a headline out of the article, they break down the subject, and they dumbify it. And it's I'm sure I was horrible with this subject that you're talking about, but they would be find the objective, everything that there is.
I haven't even looked at that technical.
It's
I haven't got that technical with jokes. I mean, there's setup, punchline, tag.
Yeah, that's what I kind of, especially as I've done one-liners. I started as a storyteller. Because
that's what I'm trying. That's what everybody's doing now, and it's. I got. Where was I going with Max? Max, he does that showcase, and he brought this guy in that was this killer storyteller. Well, first he brought this real hyper guy in that did 20, and I'm like, if this guy's not the last guy before me, what the hell's after him? And then this other guy came in, just these hilarious stories. And I got up there and did my usual stuff, and I felt like I was wearing, rainbow suspenders, and just could not follow this guy. And
was he just really dark, or
just really funny, and his style? And I get up there and did my first little quick hokey setup punchline, and I was like, God, I feel like an amateur compared to this guy, and it just.
I feel like that all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
we all see you, and we're like, oh shit. Well, I gotta kill it tonight.
Yeah, it's I have a few short. A lot of mine are just I said this and they said this, or students said this, and that's about storytelling as I can go. I don't. For someone that's trying to be a novelist, I'm not a very good storyteller on stage. I have to write.
Yeah, that was a question. What got you to write a book? But I'm guessing that's kind of your cup of tea. You got a degree in it, don't you?
Yeah, I blogged all through my 20s on MySpace and LiveJournal. And then that was kind of
you paved the road for that blogging.
Oh, yeah.
These guys nowadays, they don't know about blogging.
It was 30 comics. No, that's a generous number. It's a handful of comics just trolling it with comments every day. And I was like, who is this guy? We didn't know that they were just trolling. But in 2000, I think I started writing the book in 2010. There was some movie that came out. I don't know if it was Adam Sandler or something, where this kid becomes a comedian way too easily. And so we were getting 60 people signing up at the Funny Bone open mic.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I moved to St. Louis to be a comedian. That's why I'm out here, to develop better. And I couldn't even get up at open mic. And I was and these guys,
horrible place to choose to.
These guys all make the same mistakes. And I was like, well, maybe I can make money in a different way off that. And so I kind of outlined it. And then this student, I was student teaching. He's like, how do I get into comedy? I started writing this thing, and I was like, man, I'm sorry, I've written you a book here. And I was like, book?
Yeah. It came to you.
His name was Evan. I don't think he ever did stand up, but I've had some students that are. I'm using a student as an opener tomorrow, actually.
Nice. That's cool that you're giving that you actually do that. You hear a lot of people say, find somebody to mentor you.
I definitely had mentors, and it's really hard to get up through this alone because. When you're starting out, who's going to book you out of things? You got to crush at open mic or everything. I don't pick my openers based on who's funniest necessarily. It's who, I don't know why. who I want to give a chance to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure there've been, this sounds so pompous to even talk about. Like, I get to select my openers.
No,
But, like my week of the Funny Bone, Matt will be like, who do you want to MC? And I had another former student a few years ago do it. And he was really green, but, give him a shot. And I look for someone that's clean.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys, you can't, on a Saturday first show, you can't shift into fifth gear and start talking about sex, like just from 0 to 60. You can't.
Yeah. My first open mic, I opened up with an abortion joke, and I've learned all this lesson really quick.
Abortion was in my first set as well.
Yeah. And I still use my abortion jokes just when it gets dark. Once it's really, like if what's his name? Gary Becker had a open mic at this place called Arena Bar.
Yeah.
And it was just a bunch of alcoholics.
Yeah.
Then they were talked to their whole thing. So storytellers had no chance.
Yeah.
And I finally figured them out. I was like, say the most horrible shit in the shortest amount of time to keep their attention. And that's what I did. And they loved it. But if you try to go up there and tell them a story, they're going to interrupt you through the whole thing. But it was a rough one, and I would always tell comics, I was like, go there to that one. That one's you're gonna see.
Yeah.
You're gonna see what it's like on a bad night.
Each open mic has a different purpose, but you can tell the comics that you should go to a comedy club's open mic, whether it's Helium or Funny Bone or Backdoors reopening March 11th.
Thank God. Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's
but
my
if you're
place.
only going to like when Fitz's used to have it, and I used to go in there and not, I would just eat shit because it was all 22-year-olds. They're like, marriage? Yeah, please tell us about that shit, And so you've got to get what a paying audience is going to think, that's.
Yeah, Backdoor was one of my favorites. I've done the Funny Bone. Like you said, it's hard to get on there sometimes until you establish yourself. So I've signed up there when I can. I really like the open mic on Tuesdays. That's Word Up. It's like a spoken word and an open mic, but it's usually like the last 2 weekends. I think they've had to not let people come in.
Really?
Because of the COVID measures, they can only let so many in. But it was still a full house for what was allowed, and they always and it's a different crowd. They paid to be there.
Yeah. Crowds now. I wrote a blog about. I had my worst show in 20 years a few Fridays ago with the Funny Bone.
Really?
Second show Friday. Reggie Edwards went up and killed.
Oh my God, he's a
for
killer.
Like 10 or 15 minutes. And Ronaldo was back there. I go, I really did not want to have to work this hard second show, because I had taught all day, and then first show went fine, and second show, and I went up there, and I got heckled on the way up. He's like, my intro is like, he's published 5 books, but somebody's like, read us a book. I'm like, oh, shit. And you think about the people that are like, I don't need, I can go out and they're large groups of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, they forgot how to go out in public and behave, I guess. It was a full moon, and I was rusty. There was just that gap between each joke where I was panicking instead of hearing them laugh and, okay, here's what's that. I was like, oh, shit. And then they were just yelling shit. And I can handle hecklers if they're using words, but they were just.
Yeah, just being loud.
And then the check drop, and I was like, shit. And that last 10 or 15 minutes was I was just up there talking.
That's one thing that, even at open mic, I hate when they do the check drop.
Yeah.
Like on a good open mic, because you lose them quick. And I bet for somebody that tells stories, it's even worse for them. That's not like the long stories, the ones that build up the whole, like if they use their whole 5 minutes, and then it's like.
Yeah. And good headliners will do crowd work then.
Yeah.
Like they're able to do that. And I've never really got into crowd work because I was a feature act for 12, 13 years. So you're not supposed to do crowd work as a feature.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
I learned a lot of what I learned in this book is from talking to headliners at the Columbus Funny Bone. I was a doorman there for 3 years. And it was right as I was starting comedy. So this is 2000 and such. And they would explain to me, I would just see them fume when the feature's talking, because they're like, okay, now if I get up there, I'm going to be saying the same thing. They're talking to the same people already. And if I don't say anything to them, then I'm the asshole that won't even, I'm too good to talk to the crowd. And he's like, I
could see that, because I could see being a headliner and having to follow someone like Kyle Fields.
I've had to.
Yeah. God,
Yes.
it doesn't matter if there's one person in the crowd or
That's so-
100.
yes.
He is 100 miles an hour,
Yes,
100%.
we did Mason City together, and luckily the crowds were. I mean, it was pretty intimate, so I was able to follow him. But I was like, "Fuck, this guy would be really tough to follow because he does interact a little bit or a lot with them." And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Last show I did with him, he was laying across the table, like talking to somebody. COVID's going on and
No,
everything.
he's so. Yeah, we emailed about. We were talking a few months ago about a certain. He made a joke online. I was like, "Is it about this comic?" He's like, "Yep." It's like I guarantee. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him. He's one of the first ones that like pulled me aside because he like pointed me out. He really squared me out on one night at the Helium. We had an open mic, and he was kind of his punching bag, just an easy target.
Yeah.
I really am. I mean, if I see someone like me, I could probably like riff off of that guy, just making dumb stoner jokes about him. And he after the show, he came up and he's like, apologized. That's how long I was doing it. I was like, maybe like I think this is my 4th month. He gave me a lot of compliments and everything because I was almost to the point where I was like, I don't see much happening here. And then someone that experiences him was like, really? I wish I was where you were at 4 months. I've been doing it 10 years. And,
Oh, jeez.
and I was like, oh, wow.
No, when I moved out here, open mic was. I moved out here and lived with Jeremy Essig for a while. We both lived in Ohio. He's moved to Carolina, I think.
That's where I'm from.
But open mic was like Greg Warren was around, of course.
Yeah, he's
Tommy Jonigan, Nikki Glazer.
Oh man.
I mean, it was just
you had that was
3 people that have all done late night multiple times right there.
Yeah,
not to mention all the other veterans.
Rogan. She's huge now because of that. Like,
she was just sitting up in the bullpen with everyone else when I moved here.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories from the guys about Nikki Glazer.
There's
not like bad stories, just how she was a wild one. She went out there and she was a partier.
She's dry now.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, she did some showcases in August when the club opened back up. It was.
I bought the book because she said was talking about the quitting smoking because I really hate to smoke cigarettes, but she mentioned it on the Rogan show. I was like, yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah,
she seems pretty level-headed, not to be.
I read the Don't Drink book.
Yeah.
And stopped for a few months, just one summer to see if I could, and I started, but I don't drink a lot. I drink a lot once or twice a week. That's my qualifier. But yeah, that guy.
Yeah, because I got the smoking one and I haven't cracked it yet.
Yeah, it'll work as from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's. I just want to quit smoking cigarettes. I enjoy my herb. That's me. It's illegal. It's legal now, so leave me alone about it. But yeah, the drinking thing, that one, I just can't get up on a roof or. The next day get to work and they're like, yeah, we're going to put these walls and set trusses. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So what made you get into teaching? Like if you were off into the
I was substitute teaching while I was doing comedy. That's the perfect in your 20s. It was $90 a day. I was teaching in Clayton, so that's the I was like, wow, education's a lot better than it was coming, not knowing Clayton was the best school in Missouri, best public school at least. And so I, my family, my dad's a teacher and my sister taught for a little bit before she had a bunch of kids with her husband, but she's like, get into, it's not that bad. And then I started to see what they actually make. The salary's not that bad.
No, it's not.
I got my master's plus 15 on top of that. And we had a guy that worked in the library that retired last year that's making 6 figures.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I had dated a girl that both her parents were teachers. And I was like, man, that's gotta be rough until summer came. And I realized they got the whole summer off.
It really is a recovery of, we educate ourselves on other things. So it's not like we're just taking it off. There's a lot of professional development, but that's when I work hardest on my books. That's usually when I try and do the first drafts during the school year and then revise the hard stuff over the summer, finishing touches in, fall, and then have it out by that spring. But it's not. You just got to get in the right district. I'm in Rockwood, so it's like, it's very well-to-do kids.
I went to school here for a little while. My mom's lived out here for a while. I went to Fox, and it wasn't that bad of a school.
Yeah.
Could have been better. I've been to some really rich schools, and I've been to some really bad schools.
Yeah, I mean it's so much different than I was in high school, but it's like I said, it's not a bad gig because that's like 35 minutes of my material now too is
Yeah.
teaching. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
God,
high
if I'd have had
school?
these jokes, I wouldn't have.
Oh, that's what grade of high school?
Mostly 10th grade.
10th.
Occasionally they'll give me freshmen. I have one class of creative writing, which is mostly seniors. So
What's your favorite year?
create. I mean, they all have their pros and cons. Like seniors are good because you can be social with them, but at the same time, they've pulled some stuff. You know, they're very lazy and they're like, "I'm just done." It's like this is fun stuff though.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're like. I'm just. It's the real world. No, it's not even close to the real world
you're
yet.
gonna wish
Just-
you took this
I'm gonna
creative
get.
writing class.
I need to get some kids back from the next few years and be like, talk to them. 'Cause I understand they outgrow it.
Yeah.
They have so much more independence, and when you get independence, you're like, yeah, I'm too big for this now. Why do I have to ask permission to go to the restroom?
I get that part, but you don't even realize what we're looking at now. Just me. I was a jock. I skipped class a lot just because I could go to my coach's class and the teachers would say, like, I could do that. But now I look at creative writing classes. Being a comedian, you don't know what you're going to get into. You don't know if it's going to be sales. You don't know what it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I don't want to swing a hammer for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know. And like you said, a teacher position, making probably about the same that I'll make as a carpenter or would make as a experienced carpenter. And yeah, I can retire by the time I'm 65 and probably be well off, especially me and my wife together. But it's a lot of sacrifice in the body every morning, 4 o'clock, getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, beating the hell out of your body.
Ages you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Missouri has the best teacher retirement program, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll have money someday. It's, compared to the kids' parents, they're like,
Where you Rockwood District? What
Marquette High School.
Marquette. Oh well, that's not
Chesterfield.
Yeah, that's my old lady did Parkway.
Oh, okay.
She was raised in Chesterfield. Yeah. I didn't know that was the rich folks area.
Yeah,
until I built a house out there. I was like, oh, there's some money out here.
Yeah, we're like we have escape plans. Mm-hmm. Where if the school gets raided, like you can lock yourself in the room or you can evacuate, and we have like rally points. I'm like, all right, we're gonna meet on the 17th hole over there, whatever hole that is, in the country club, because there's a country club just on the other side. Like I Zillowed the house outside. It was $985,000. It was on the market for like a year, and then you see like Molly Maids comes in and cleans it every 2 or 3 days, and it's just like, oh, these people, what do they do to make this much?
Finances.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Hey, I've done really good with Bitcoin. I just Bitcoin is one of those ones that's I don't know. It's a mystery. The guy that created it, they don't even know who the guy that created it. He just made it and was like, all right, I'm out. This is going to cause a lot of problems. You guys deal with the headache. But so I got some questions of Nick Kuvar.
Okay. Yeah.
Nick Kuvar wanted to know, did your penis always look like a potato? No. That's it. Have you seen Kuvar lately? Any of his stuff?
Well, I feel like a month ago or something, but I mean, he's always tweeting funny stuff. I click like on his stuff a lot.
He wants to know if you have a formula to how do you do your callbacks and your tags, which you said you play that little game in your head, but do you have a formula when writing?
No, it's just premises, and then right before open mic, I look at them like, how can I word this or something? Sometimes the good punchlines come right away, and I don't ever really sit down with a notebook and
do like word
what's a new idea? Yeah. I used to do a couple things with Nathan Horton. I'd have him over and he'd be like, all right, let's do 15 jokes about yoga pants. I was like, is this what you do? Is this why you're pumping out 10 new minutes every 3 days?
Oh yeah. But he came over here and did his podcast. I had him. Yeah. They came over and used the equipment when they were here from New York. Is that where they're at now?
Yeah, he and Lucas are out there. Yeah, there's just so many guys that are super motivated, and I'm that's not where I'm at anymore. Like you know what I want to improve in right now? 2 things: pickleball and chess.
Pickleball.
You play?
No. There's a funny comedian. He's pretty new to the game. I think a year or 2 in, but he had a pickleball joke that was great. He's like, been a really weird day. My drug dealer asked me if I wanted to come play pickleball with him.
Yeah.
So I've been playing pickleball, and then I came up right after him. I was like, sorry guys. was late playing pickleball, and it's just I seen a court out in what is it, Festus? Or Pacific or somewhere like that. I passed by and I was like, what is pickleball?
Yeah.
What is pickleball?
It's geriatric tennis, they call it. It's a smaller court. You pretty much just play doubles. And the big difference in it is there is a 7-foot zone in front of the net that you can't volley from. So you can't stand up in the net and volley. Just stand there all day. Like in tennis, you can run up. So it makes so you just want to hit it over the net. And it's just different strategy than that. There's a lot of good tennis players, though. But it's weird because you'll be playing, that'll be like the 70-year-old woman come in and she'll just kick your ass because she plays every day for the last 10 years.
Is it like badminton in a way? Like what are you
There's some badminton players. It looks like a wiffle ball. It's a plastic ball with holes in it. And you get a hard paddle. There's like fiberglass ones, whatever. I'll be honest, I paid $150 for my paddle.
I get it when I get into something. Usually, I'm really
first one was $65, and then 3 years later, I've been playing on 3.5 years. I'm playing tomorrow after our teacher meetings.
I'm too competitive to go play a sport that I let a 7-year-old woman come and beat me.
You eventually get better than them, but it's frustrating because my friends who are one's late 40s, the other one turns 70 next year. They're playing every day, and they're getting better than me, and I'm like, shit, I gotta catch up.
Why don't you set one up at your house? Like,
well, we have our condo has one.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's where we started playing. Me and this older man,
nice.
and we just played singles. And now it's the point where I can dominate him in singles. But doubles is a different game, and that's the more fun social thing. So it's frustrating. I'm like, I got to get better. How do I instantly get better? And I'm like, oh no, I'm like those comics that are like really hungry to get better.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And then chess too. Like I got into chess a few years ago. Before, I mean, I learned as a kid. And
I'm scared because I know how intense I get into stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look at everything the way everyone already says you have to play chess. And I'm like, I could get into that.
It's hard to start new things, right? That's why I never progressed beyond the PS3 because I'm like, Final Fantasy 12, no. I'm very comfortable with Final Fantasy 2. Get my Kokaboo Forest over here. I know what I'm doing. I'll beat it for the 100th
Final
time.
Fantasy was my favorite game, too. It's funny that you mentioned it. Number 7 was my favorite one. It was like the PS1 version.
Oh, okay.
They just released it on the PS4 or 5 or whatever number.
Yeah, some of them are like 2 and 4. They're just like 2 is just the Japanese version of 4 or whatever.
I don't understand it. You see the system I got that old school Super Nintendo, and that's
we have one of those too.
Now.
Yeah, we got that, and then we got the little small Nintendo and Super Nintendo. They have 20. But I know how you can send if you get the ones. I know a guy that can mod them for 159 and put 16 or like what was it? 20 systems and like 19,000 games on.
Yeah. My buddy builds. He started building the arcade like an actual system to where you can like with joysticks. He like actually put a little motherboard on it or whatever, and it's pretty cool. That's just the old system. That's one you still got to blow in and everything.
What game is that in there right now?
Mortal Kombat 3, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or Super Mario.
3 was fun because when you use Shang Tsung. Mm-hmm. If you hold, I think it was like low kick. I used to do this at the arcade at our town's fair. If you hold low punch or low kick for 30 seconds, and then you beat the guy and it says finish him. If you let go, he turns into that guy with all the arms and drills him. And
I could never figure that. Yeah, you're the man at the arcade.
My brother,
when
not more at the. I didn't have the quarters to play, but at home, my brother and I would make little sheets. And there was no internet. Like you had to.
You had to make your
borrow
own
Nintendo Power from the library or whatever, and. Yeah, make your own cards and that. But God, I could have probably learned a new language with all the.
Yeah, when I found out, like, what was the game that got real popular when I started getting out of video games, like when the Grand Theft Auto thing came in. I was just like.
Yeah, it's like two dimensions is all I need.
I'm really into like the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Like I'm surprised I never got it. I've kind of never let myself get into that either.
Yeah.
One of those groups that takes up 2 or 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
You can't afford it.
There are. I don't play video games that often. My wife and we like to play Mario 3 together.
Yeah, that's something we could do.
It's our Friday night activity.
I remember the tennis. Do you remember the Wiis when they first came out with tennis?
See, I didn't even get the Wii.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. My buddy had bought it, and we would. This was when I was drinking at like 21, 22 years old. We would stay up. Literally, I think there was like a whole summer. Yeah. We just drank at the house, playing Wii all night, every night. Like that was what we did. Yeah, we would have our elbows would be tore up.
Yeah. No, there's something. It's like an old movie. It's familiar. You know how to beat the game, and I don't need to. I tried to get Skyrim years
Yeah,
ago,
I've
and
seen it, and
they're
I
like,
was like,
"Oh, it's like 90 hours." I was like, "Oh, I
yeah.
should definitely not play this."
Yeah, because I'm real competitive and everything's connected to the web now.
Yeah.
So as soon as that happens, I'm going to be on there and be like, well, if I get it when it's brand new,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go to work. I'm going to come home and everyone's going to be leveled up completely. And it's like, fuck this. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want nothing to do with it.
I always want to I was like, if I could trade, like I'm not like masterful. If I could trade my comedy ability for pickleball ability, would I do that and just go pro?
Well, I mean, you did you decide to do the teaching thing, or could you have stuck up with your comedy pay? You know,
No, I don't think I could have and lived a comfortable life and
kept your
like
wife.
my wife. We were dating, and it was probably 4 months into it. She sat me down and was like, "Look, are you always gonna be gone and living check to check? Because that was my dad, and I'm not real cool on that." And I was like, "Oh."
I kind of like you, so.
And so I told my friends, they're like, "No, you dumbass. That means she wants long term and everything." And so, I taught friends were passing through town. A woman was a teacher, and she's like, or her husband was like, "Yeah, she's making this much." I'm like, "That's not bad." No. Wouldn't it be nice? Because I you know what it was? It was the summer I read this Tony Robbins book, and he said, rank your priorities, and number 1 was independence. And then number 10 was like security. And he goes, now flip-flop them, number 1 and 10, and think how that would be. And I was like, would be nice to afford brand name things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm pretty into them, And so...
So you guys just decided to teach, and you weren't, well, you did.
Yeah, I
went to
UMSL for a year and a half to get certified. Yeah, I had the English degree already, and then, yeah.
And you decided no kids?
No kids, yeah.
No kids? Yeah, me and my wife haven't had any yet. She stopped taking the old birth control.
Oh.
Yeah, and she bought me some pills that are supposed to pump up my swimmer's numbers.
Oh,
okay. I guess we're working on it now.
Yeah, I guess you are.
Now that we've been here for a few years,
yeah.
I guess we're financially stable.
Yeah.
We are. Anyways, I'm just starting to take off a comedy. I'm sure I'll be on the road when he comes or it comes. No. That's what my biggest fear is being like just starting to like get into it.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing I've really actually put my mind to and dedicated some time to every day.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who said it, but somebody was like, if you spend a certain amount of like a couple hours or an hour every day for 10 years, that's one thing. Yeah. You should be able to master it.
That's the thing. That's why I think there's 2 reasons I didn't make it in comedy is I was maybe 3 or, well, there's a lot. I always need that little security net. Like I never went into debt. Like there were guys that were $9,000-$10,000 in debt. I was like, I can't live like that knowing that's over me. And then I didn't know what to do in my free time. I don't like if you're like, all right, work on your comedy. I'd be like, I got a notebook. What do I do? Yeah. To do that? And then there was nothing going on in my life to write about. What's the sad? I was 20-something living.
What they do now is they just pick an article. They're like, I just picked a 3rd article in my news feed and I wrote jokes about it because there's a system out there, which I agree. You can be taught how to be funny for like sales positions and being a doctor, being more friendly and stuff like that. They hire guys all the time that Jerry Corley guy was talking about it, how like it's good money to teach people how to be funny. And there is a system that you can teach. Now, naturally having it, being able to take it to that next level and actually perform, he can teach you how to write jokes all day long. Can you perform the jokes? Can you time it?
Yeah.
Can you...
The other thing, too, is the self-promotional side of it. Like I said, I was a late bloomer, and I don't sell myself very well. With this book, I should have been touring, just teaching classes on this. A good promoter would have been able to make thousands more than I did off this thing. But I was like, I wrote a blog. Yeah, I got some reviews.
No, you've got great reviews, and I'm surprised that you haven't done more with it after I looked into it.
I've done a few things here and there locally, or sometimes if I'll go to I don't know if it's Chattanooga or somewhere, and make like a book deal with the owner. He was like, I'll buy them for this and sell them for this. I was like, all right, yeah. But I just suck at that self-promoting stuff.
It's been the biggest thing. Like that's something I had Mike Tobin on, the owner of Backdoor.
Oh yeah.
And he said that's the one big thing that he got into, become an owner and wanted to help out. He's seen that when he got into being a club owner, and that's something. He's an entrepreneur. That's what he says. He's built a couple of companies, made them successful, and sold them. And he's like, that's the one thing that comedians have the biggest issue with is they don't know how, and they like, oh, I don't need my funny to take care of that. No. You're not that funny. There's only a handful of comedians out there that are that funny that don't need to worry about selling themselves. All these other comedians you see, they're selling themselves. They're out there. They're pimping themselves out. Like it's a thing that they networking themselves as a company. Ourselves as a company is the big issue you see with these comedians. They're just out there on the road. They're making money. You can get a lot of stuff on that. You can get a lot of tax write-offs. You can get a lot if you set yourself up as an LLC or you have a bunch of buddies that don't know. Set up a sole proprietor or something like that and have them, as your employees. And then you get even more tax write-offs. There's just a lot of stuff that comedians don't worry about. They're just worried about writing jokes, and I get it.
Yeah, as an artist, I guess we're not business people. We're not built on greed, and that's not what motivates us. We're motivated by the audience's response, not the bottom line.
And we don't realize the translation of how much the audience, how much more of an audience you'll be able to give your artwork to if you can. Like that Bert Kreischer guy was one. Yeah. He's he was all over the internet and sold, and he's funny, but he's not
that's how Dane Cook did it. He was emailing people on MySpace for years.
Which is back. Did you see that? The MySpace?
I still have my profile.
Do you?
They deleted all my blogs and all my emails. I was like, probably a good thing. Like that was my 20s and but I enjoyed MySpace. It was so much better because you couldn't just share. You had to put effort into things and actually talk to people. But
somebody's revamped it completely.
Oh, nice.
I was just reading in the news that somebody basically built a whole new version of MySpace over back in the day. And it's getting popular.
I'll be.
So
my biggest regret is when I put this book out, instead of writing blogs, if I'd have started making YouTube videos then, I'd have
followers,
thousands,
you'd have subscribers. That's where it's at. I thought about doing just the audio version because we have a podcast with the Discrepancies lead singer, ATG, John Matty, is just a good friend of mine.
Yeah, John's fun.
Yeah. And another guy that works at Pops, does the lighting at Pops. We all had a podcast. It was just audio. And I was like, the numbers aren't coming in quick enough for me. I think the YouTube, because that's how I watch all my podcasts. Like when Joe Rogan said he was going to Spotify, I was like, bro, might have lost me, but they brought video in for his specific podcast, and I was like, oh, then that's cool. Because I like the video. I like to be able to, if I'm here working, I'll catch myself, even if it's a podcast and they're just talking. I don't know why. It's my ADHD or something. And it draws me to it.
And I had some buddies that had a podcast in 2004, and they were getting international. I was getting like heckles from Australia. Like I was kind of the heel. I wasn't very good at radio or anything, and I was kind of they were a little older and quicker than me, and I was kind of the whipping boy on there. But I mean, they had thousands of subscribers. And they'd appear in the Apple top 10 podcasts certain weeks, and then they stopped, and I was like, you idiots, you could have been
where you could have been. Like Joe Rogan just did like $200 million contract.
Even the chess guy that I watch every day at lunch. I watch this guy from Croatia or wherever. He just talks through matches and points out stuff. He just hit his 1 millionth subscriber on YouTube this week. Yeah, for chess.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask my boss if he'll let me set up like some GoPros on the job site on the edges of while I'm building a house, just to record it and then do like over just do a voiceover the video and speed the video up. See, this is what we're doing. This is how we're gonna raise the wall. This is how we customize. This is how we straighten it. This is how we line it up and everything. I think that would be a great little
everything's
channel.
On YouTube. I know how to do two things to repair my car now: fuses, and the cabin air vent filter thing.
Yeah, I gotta look that up actually because I did my oil, and they're like, I was reading, I was like, you should do your oil and your air filter, the inside air filter. I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, mine had leaves on it and stuff. So yeah.
How do you manage teaching in comedy? Are they
It's
pretty easy, cool with you at the job? At the,
yeah. You know, when I got hired, the principal that he's in charge of the English department out there, he came out the first night. I was like, yeah, I'm doing shows, and he came out the first 2 nights. He brought one of the other teachers the first night, and then one of the other principals the next night. And after
like,
the second
look at
night,
what we snagged.
yeah, he was like, you want to get a beer? I'm like, all right. And you know, I'm pretty clean on there, so I don't think it's. If you act like you're hiding something, then that's what makes them suspicious, I think.
Yeah.
But if I'm just open about it, and I tell the kids, you know, I don't have a lot of my stuff on YouTube because of that.
Well, yeah, that's why I put up a lot of stuff, and there's none of this is in the in the video.
Yeah.
I make sure. I thought about that. I was like, yeah, he's a teacher, so
no, it's I've done. You know, I was on the point and playing their obscene games once.
Oh, really?
So,
That's cool. Yeah. Who was it? This guy, Antonio, and their band. They do stuff with Patrico. Not Patrico. What's the guy that does the beats? The DJ. That is Patrico, right?
Yeah.
The bigger one.
Yeah.
The big
Well, he
guy.
lost a bunch of weight, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But he does beats and stuff, and he sends them over to Antonio because he's a rapper, and them two kind of collab and stuff together. So he's a really funny guy. I'm surprised he doesn't, like, all of them are pretty funny. Like Moon, Riz, Patrico. I wanted to see their live show when they were like at the Pops. They did just a live actual show. And I was like, and Riz did a stand-up set, supposedly.
That's how I got in with him a little bit. I
Is it?
sent him a copy of this book and signed it, put a little note. I was like, hey, I'm doing my week of the Funny Bone. If you want to do a guest set there. And he emailed, he's like, no, but please come in and you can be on the show. And I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We usually listen to it. It must have been one of the mornings we didn't listen to the
It
point.
was years ago, 2017 or 18.
Yeah, because I remember when he first was going to do it, I was like, oh, because I started writing real heavily in like 2016, 17, and then was going to all the open mics, but I wasn't performing. And then I seen John Maddie just blow the fucking roof off of a place, and I was like, I got to do it. I got to start performing because like writing the jokes is nothing.
Yeah, it's fun when you finally start to have a really good sets. I remember the first few times where I was like, all right, yeah, I'm for real. You know, this is great.
You know, I've only done nothing, no big show, no headliner position yet, but I was just getting in the groove with like at the back door. I really like that place.
Yeah.
Real comfortable there. That's a good crowd. It doesn't really matter which crowd it is. I know that 5 minute, those open mic 5 minutes, I know I can do a solid 5 of those. It's not clean though, and that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
Writing clean, because you can always make something clean dirty.
Yeah.
Making something that starts off dirty and trying to clean it up,
Yeah.
I'm learning is really hard. So I should.
Yeah.
I'm learning to do more clean, and then I can make that shit dirty later on. But your money's where the clean's
Yeah.
like you're gonna get booked when you're clean.
Yeah,
And-
and those are good. Those are realistic crowd. I got spoiled. And I started in Columbus, where this is before the economy crashed. You know, in 2000, they were selling out Tuesday and Wednesday nights, 300 people, because they paper the room, so people weren't paying. But you would have, open mic was Monday there. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, one show, 2 Friday, 3 Saturday, 1 Sunday. So by the end of that week, as an MC, you're like, I am polished, and in front of like big names too. It's like, this is the life, yeah.
Radcliffe just did TK Kirkland at the Helium. This was like 2 weeks ago. Did the weekend hosted or featured for him, and he did the open mic after TK Kirkland left. Like a week later or a couple days later. And you could definitely tell just from that weekend of that amount of stage time of how well he was able. He's like, man, I bombed. I felt like every night, but the last show, it just all kind of started coming together, and he had to work clean for that one.
Yeah, you getting that?
Yeah,
just the repetition. It's just reps.
But he's a rant. He's real hyper, and like he has some talking points he sticks to. But I mean, when he kills it, he kills it. Like people. You don't want to have to go after him, and I always end up signing up after him for some reason. But and because the crowd, they're so pumped up after that, I come on there with my dry, I don't do much of the more.
I always try and
Stephen
reference them, try and call back one of their jokes.
Yeah.
I did worked in urban room. We used to have something called Laughs on the Landing back in '05 when I moved here. I think it went through like probably '07, maybe '08. And it was an urban room, but it had it was a non-urban open mic on Wednesday or whatever. And the headliner came, he's like, "Hey man, I want you to do some time this week." I'm like, "Really?" I had to follow like an R&B singer and these other guys, but
That's like that Word Up open mic. It is.
Yeah.
It's those crowds are truthful. You're gonna.
you
They're
just
honest.
you just got to find like one reference and call back to that. There was this, oh God, I can't remember his name. His whole tagline was "Do she?" meaning talking about a girl like does she, but he would say "Do she?" And so I threw that. I was like, I'm just gonna throw that in my punchline. I don't care if it makes sense or not. It didn't, but they laughed and I was on board. It was,
Yeah.
it is tough though when you got someone that kills like that.
And it's definitely a different crowd too. The different rooms. I've
Yeah.
noticed that. I really seen that get pointed out when one week Will O'Donnell came, and I hadn't seen him ever at this open mic at the Word Up one because he usually gets on at the Funny Bone.
Yeah.
So he was there. He still got laughs, of course, because it's Will O'Donnell.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he didn't like walk out getting applause and everything. And you could see like he got comfortable with those easy crowds and everything. But the next week he came back, right back. He adjusted and went right at it and killed it.
Yeah.
Like his little smoking a joint thing. He's like, I know there's COVID, but I'm gonna hit that joint, that doobie. And I think they were laughing at the way he was calling it, that marijuana.
Yeah.
But
with urban crowd, the biggest thing you can do is, or the worst thing you can do is try and pander and try and sound like them.
Yes,
That's the big no-no.
Yeah, I've got a whole set of that I really can't use. My stepdad, that's black, like helped me. We bounced a lot of ideas off of him. And after I finished it, I was like reading through it. I was like, I don't think I can really say a lot of this stuff, Bobs. It's like, unless you're there with me and they understand, I'm cool. I don't think I'm going to do this.
It is tough. I used to teach inner city, and so I had a good 5 or 10 minutes about that. So Matt would use me for the feature act when there were urban, oh geez, who's the guy? I can't remember his name now. He's from St. Louis. I don't know. But yeah, I was like the go-to feature. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you only got to do 15. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that's where that's my favorite time slot that I've been given so far, is just a 15 minutes, because you get so much room to play with 2 different open mic sets, basically. Because as a one-liner, you have to have a lot of jokes ready to go.
Yeah.
But I do still construct them to where they kind of they chronologically go together in a way.
Yeah, I keep stuff in an order. When you add on, it's easier to remember.
Yeah, and I'm like JC was saying, he's like, you got like 40 jokes you're putting out compared to my 3. He said, I'm just punching 3 up for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Is he though? No, just kidding, JC. Just kidding.
No, JC, I like JC. He was one of the first guys when he was running his open mic that pulled me aside after I switched to doing one-liners, and was like, I really like those. Some of those are really good. Bought me a drink and shit. I forget what it was, but I was drunk afterwards because I didn't want to seem like a bitch.
I took him out to Oklahoma as he's got family out there. Yeah. We did a one-nighter out there.
Oklahoma. What's out there besides JC's family?
No longer. It was something near the Oklahoma State campus.
College shows. Do you do well with those?
It wasn't really a college show as much. But yeah, you know what Mizzou had that club, Deja Vu, and it was like half college kids and half people that lived in Columbia. And he'd be like, we're a little slow tonight. I'm like, there's 220 people here. This is not slow. And it was, I was when I was in my younger 30s too, and I was just getting to headline there. Like, he used me for a couple corporate headlining things, and I would have finally got weeks, and then the club closed. But I mean, the place was always packed. And then you go downstairs, and it was a dance club. It was a college dance club. Okay. So my wife was always like, "Really? You're gonna?" I was like, "No, it's because I go down there, and you would think there'd be like girls. No, it was guys. They're like, dude, what's it like?" I'm like, it's not fun. This is about the highlight of the comedy tour, being around here with a girl dancing on a table that can't fit into that dress.
Yeah, I realized real quick that it's not the lights that everyone thinks you perform. It's like, yeah, but it's not it's more anxiety than anything really.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, there's been girls that, once you're married and know how to dress, there are girls that are a little more forward than, when I was in my 20s and desperate, they could tell I was desperate, and I was like, where were you when I was 25 and lonely? And
yeah, there is a group of women out there that's just they see that and they're like, oh, he doesn't have commitment issues.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna tell. It's like,
yeah, it happened once. This lady was, I haven't told my wife about the next day because she was the manager of the hotel, and out at the show, I was working with Dustin Diamond that night, actually.
Oh wow.
And in Lebanon, Missouri, and she's like, "Everything okay in your room?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's good." She's like, "Sure, there's nothing you need in your room tonight or anything?" I was like, "No," and it didn't click until the third time, and I'm like, "Oh no! Did you not hear my set?" Like I said, my wife will kill. I even say it's kind of like, I read this book. I think it's been called "In the Time of the Butterflies" or something about this. It's the metaphor for everything that gets you in trouble. There's that scene where there's the girl lying in bed and there's a vampire bat outside of her window just hovering there, right? She has two choices. What does she always do in the stupid movie? She opens the window and lets the bat in.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is close the curtains. Don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, if there's a bat at my window just hovering, I'm out. I'm like, yeah, that's freaky. I've seen too many movies.
It's got COVID.
Exactly. I wonder if Batman's getting like residuals for this whole thing. Too easy.
All right, what else did Nick ask?
Do you worry about sticking to an idea through your whole set, like sticking to like a main theme?
No.
Yeah, just that's.
I have no I'm not trying to deliver a message.
Yeah.
Other that.
There's some good ones out there.
Yeah,
I leave it to Carlin's and Chappelle's.
Yeah,
and
they can do that stuff, but I'm, people will be like, no, and I'll be like, you got a point. I'm probably wrong on
I don't want to argue.
Yeah, you've got to be like that angry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy in those, and I'm like, I don't have the energy, especially if I taught that day.
Yeah.
I like I always say, I do 5 shows by 3:00 every day, so I don't want to have to be angry comic and.
Yeah, and it's probably got to carry over into being angry at the kids. Like, that's a good bit, you little shit. Yeah. Who else was there that had some? Mike Radcliffe. What's changed in the comedy scene since has the changes that's been made as far as cancel culture and everything changed anything for you?
I think around 2012-13, crowds got a lot tighter. And there were bits I was doing that I'm like, yeah, that's pushing it. I wouldn't want my students to hear me say something like that. And a lot of it is
professionalism for your other career.
No, it's not even that.
No.
It's, part of that.
You don't want to be the teacher in the news.
I've been called to the office 4 or 5 times in the last couple of years, and I was like, I never went to the office as a student. So I was like, I'm in trouble. Yeah. But around 2012, the moaning began, especially in the clubs in the city. Out in the sticks, you can say anything, and they're, if they moan at all, be like, look, there is absolutely no diversity in this entire. Stop moaning. The only Chinese person is at the restaurant, and that's But they get a little tighter, especially the toughest is if there's like 1 or 2 black guys in the crowd or one table, and then you have to address them and be like, can you tell them to relax, the white folks, because they're going to be offended on your behalf, and it's tough.
I went up for Mo Alexander.
I know Mo.
Yeah, and the whole weekend in St. Charles, the very last show Saturday night. There's 2 black guys that came and sat down, or a couple, and Mo got down at the table with them. It was like, y'all get the rest of the show, all right? This is the next. Thank you. Thank you for coming. He was hilarious. I
Yeah.
found out he's like a mathematician or a physicist.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I spent a week with him in a condo in Wisconsin, and I didn't hear shit about that.
I got him really high too. Probably.
okay.
I told him not to eat the whole edible. Like, just be careful with him, man.
Yeah.
I've got the good stuff.
We worked this club in Milwaukee called Jokers that was basically a write-off for upstairs, which was a strip club.
Perfect.
And so they were like, "Do you want like a steak?" I'm like, "What? No." I don't.
No.
They brought the bottled water and the glasses. I forget what that really fancy brand is, the Fuji,
Voss, yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that. And it paid. I was like, "There's nobody here all week. How are they so nice to us?"
And
And
then
yeah.
I realized it was just a tax.
Here's a fun story. This is one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my comedy career. I was working with Gary Valentine, who is, I think, Kevin James's cousin. He's on King of Queens.
Okay.
And he's buddies with the Florida Marlins, who are in town playing the Brewers. And so he's like, "Yeah, they're coming to the show." So I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm a baseball fan." And so the game went into extra innings, and I'm doing okay, but there's this table up front giving me a little shit. And the manager comes up and gives me a note, and they're all like, "Oh, they want you to get off." And I was like, "Nope, I got to stretch because I went in extra innings, bitches." And so, they do make it in. I see them coming at the end of my set, and then Gary goes up, and it's like Luis Gonzalez. He was the 2003 World Series MVP, hit the game winner to beat the Yankees. It's 2001. And Dan Uggla, like some pretty big names. There's 5 of them. So, of course, we go up to the strip club afterwards, and the strippers can just tell who has money. And, like, it was like I was invisible. I was like, what the? I was just, Luis Gonzalez, he's like, "If I'm not back in 10 minutes, call the Marines." I'm like, "Okay, bye, everyone."
I guess I'm getting that steak.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like, man, they can smell who has money. It was probably my shoes or my whole outfit, but.
Yeah, no, I learned that the hard way. Well, it was fun for a while. I got into some trouble when I was a youngin' when I lived on the beach, but when the money was around,
Yeah.
you could definitely tell the way people act. It's a good lesson I learned.
Yeah.
That money is gonna.
Yeah.
A lot of people when you have money, like if I was the way I was when I was 20 with what I have now, this house would be a flop house. It would be like a typical.
Yeah.
Sublime song. So
That's a good.
what else did they have? Oh, yeah, that is a good one. What do you think, in your opinion, is the worst thing a new comic, or just a comedian do to themselves? Like, as far as what's the worst
On
move they
stage or off stage?
either? What's the worst thing you think it would do?
On
Stick a stake in it?
stage, on stage, I see a lot of them try to emulate their heroes right away, and I kind of relate that to, if you ever watch poker on TV. We've all been there. We've all been that bored, and it's like they're editing a lot of that. Don't try what they're trying at home. And you see guys try and be Daniel Tosh, and it's like, you can't do that. And they even try and sound like them, which, I had a little Dave Attell phase. He was my hero starting out.
Okay, yeah.
He would come through Columbus every year, and I was like, "Watch my guest set, Dave." I'm right, whatever he did. But I think on stage, trying to do too much, you have to have a license to talk about those controversial things to pull them off correctly. In an open mic, you see comics do that, and we're laughing in the back at them, not with them.
Yeah.
And then off stage, just being cocky and bragging about this and that, and there's
We have a couple
always
of those.
going to be envy in the business. People hated me in Columbus because I was a doorman at the Columbus Funny Bone, but I got all the really good gigs because I'm like, "Can I work with this guy coming in?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah.
You just got to be the right place, the right time. And since I was always there, and you see that jealousy, and I think it peaks every year around contest time.
Yeah, I'm more of the one that like when I did the contest, there was Mike Ratcliffe was on it, and I think he just killed it. Timing was perfect. I don't know much, horrible musician, but I know it sounds good, and I know comedy is funny. And when somebody really killed it, and I've been watching these guys enough for a couple of years, and his shit was tight and much better than some. better than mine, completely better than mine. I know I wasn't gonna win.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for Mike for his not, and he doesn't brag about it. But I'd much rather see the people that win. I like seeing the guys, these guys that come in and they do new material and it kills. And I think there's a lot of things that we don't have in the comedy scene. It's very cliquey and they're very jealous and envy. You get a show. How'd you get on that show? And you can tell they're asking you that by like, how did you get on that show?
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
because I paid them for it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'll fuck with people all the time. How come you get on that list all the time? Because I give them money.
Yeah.
Why don't you get a job?
Yeah. I tip. I do this, whatever.
No,
yeah,
I tell them I bought it. I paid for that spot. Like I bought it. That's why I'm on the list.
That's money you don't.
Just to piss them off.
But it is, the whole click thing is, it's just like friendships, though. It's like you don't just suddenly become part of other friend circles.
No.
It's not about, I don't know. And people do, in comedy, you're judged a lot on what you say on stage. It really personifies that person, too. There's a lot of people that I hate their act, and I'm like, oh, they're an asshole in real life, too.
Yeah, that's I think that might be my biggest problem. No, no, I've got some. I've got a lot of darker jokes, but they've the ones that I do are polished, and I know that they're funny and they're not offensive for the most part.
Yeah,
they're not racy. They're not. Homophobic at all.
Yeah.
I have a black dad, stepdad to ask if something's too racist.
Yeah.
And I have a gay real father to ask if it's too
it's
so homophobic.
you can even throw those in. You get that license on those kinds of things.
Well, kind of. You ask them to help you out or ask them, and be like, but you should say this. Like, I can't say that word.
Yeah.
Like that. I can't. Do you know the color of my skin? Or I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not that part of the crew.
Yeah.
But I did want to say when you were talking about how what was it, the downfall of man or whatever, the biggest issues men have, like with women and money and everything like that. I had Pat Ryan on here. Are you familiar with him at all?
A little.
Yeah, he does with Teal Pierce, like the Wise and Crack thing, and he does some stand up. Yeah. But he's asexual, and he learned me about what that was about, just not sexually attracted, have no sexual drive, don't want to have sex with nobody, not attracted to anyone. And I was like, you've hacked it.
Yeah, that would save a lot of time and money.
Yeah, they used to say the gay guys figured it out. No, these guys figured it out. Like that is, they don't want to have. They're not worried about none of it. Like they're just able to concentrate. I was like, do you know how much money I could have right now? I'd have lawyer fees back, everything. But yeah. So coming up, you've worked with a lot of big names, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten from one?
Greg Fitzsimmons, and this is in the book. He told me earlier, stick the joke.
Stick the joke.
Like I did a guest set for him, in front of him, in Columbus, and probably I'd been doing comedy a year and a half maybe, and I stupid, here's my, I have a lot, I want to be Richard Lewis because he went to Ohio State and I went to Ohio State, and here's my impression of Richard, I'd like drink a Corona or something, like, because he was a drunk. That's not a punchline, stupid. And Greg was just trying to say, stick the joke, they should be able to figure out when to laugh. And you see that with jokes that miss. It's like, that's not a punchline or something. I don't know. It's hard to explain when open micers they're just telling stories, and it's like there's no joke there.
And they're waiting for a laugh.
You're gonna have a lot of people. Yeah. But stick of all the names, I think that
Greg Fitzgerald, I really like him. I think he's one of the first Joe Rogan episodes I watched, and I was like, this is funny.
He was on Nikki's show on XM a few summers ago, and I was driving back to Ohio, so I called in and thanked him for that advice. And Nikki's like, all right, plug the book, Rob. Well, no, I wasn't even trying to plug the book.
That's great. They're like, I almost, when she was here, was it last year? Or maybe even the shows right when COVID, I was wanting to go see her, but we just weren't able to make it. Yeah. My wife's like, you think she's hot? I don't know how I feel about you meeting her. I was like, babe, I get one, right? No. Yeah. But other than that, I think that's all of the ones that Nate and them had. When did you feel when did you feel like a professional? When your taxes said it, or when your peers felt it? Considered you a
you know what I
professional?
did? I walked away from a bank job in 2004 in Ohio. I was making upwards of 21,000 a year.
At what age?
26 or 27.
Balling.
Yeah.
Like,
And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna, yeah. I got a car. I saved. I got almost $2,000 my savings.
yeah, that's gonna last you a long time in New York or LA. Which one
And
did you try to go to first?
I didn't actually.
Wow.
Nick Griffin, he's mentioned in this book too. He really helped me a lot through. We just had weeks together a lot. He's like, don't go to LA till you're a finished product and looking for management.
It's like, yeah.
I was like, all right. And then I think if I wouldn't have met my wife right before I turned 30, I was thinking about trying New York.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't have any money then either, so I don't know. But
I want to do Texas or
Yeah.
Atlanta. I think New York after COVID and
Yeah,
LA
it's-
is I don't
there's
know.
no money to be made up in New York.
I
mean,
hear
it's
Austin's where it's at though. Like Austin
Yeah.
is a great place for comedy, getting better and better.
Yeah.
Like and all your big names are moving out there because of Rogan and Tesla and everybody else, Theo.
Yeah.
So I think Texas would be a fun place to go. And
It's just like we're not bad here in the Midwest though. From Cincinnati, Indianapolis, here, Columbus wasn't bad. As long as you've got literally hundreds of Elks lodges and gigs, and it's that that's another huge change. Is it's not comedy clubs anymore. I wrote this book this is how do you get into comedy clubs. One-nighters are just your thing, but one-nighters pay. Some of them pay more in a night than you make it a week at a comedy club.
do you ever do any corporate like?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hear that's where the money is.
Yeah,
really,
I had a $1,000 gig canceled because of COVID in December.
And those are the ones that hurt, huh? That's
That
just a
would've-
quick.
Oh my
$1,000
god, that would
bucks.
have been great.
Yeah, man. Did you sign and frame your first paid
No.
gig? No.
No, it was the weird thing. My first paid gig was in front of 1,500 people.
Wow.
This back in my hometown near Mansfield, Ohio. A friend of a friend's mom. They do this. They're entrepreneurs, and they bring in 3 headliners every year that each do 30, and they're like, oh, we need an MC. And they're like, we heard you do comedy, and I'd done like one guest set at the Columbus Funny Bone. I'm like, can I do a couple more guest sets? And they're like, we'll pay you $100. I'm like, oh yeah, for 5 minutes, yeah, that's like $1,200 an hour if you think about it. And I was really nervous. I did that show for 4 or 5 years in a row, just as the MC. And
How important do you think it is for these guys to learn MCing for all?
yeah, you have to. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, if you're gonna, yeah.
How does a guy, let's say, I wouldn't want to put my name as one of them, but style-wise, how would someone like Stephen Wright be an MC?
Yeah, that's tough to do. You kind of,
Because that's where I have to watch my recording. I'd be like, I really like Stephen Wright. I won't watch him much at all anymore just because I don't want to, like you were saying, imitate in some of your favorites. So, my favorites are all storytellers. Sam Kinison, Jamie Foxx, those guys.
it's tough. I think it needs to be a gradual, from the announcements, a comment of some, because they have to kind of slip into their voice. And if it's low energy, that's really tough to do. You just kind of have to sacrifice your voice those first few jokes and ease into your voice and gradually work it that way.
Yeah, because I've had issues hosting. I do it every time someone offers. Mike, she's let me host quite a few times, and
it's just hard. You got to be the first person up.
And I think it's something that's very important. I think the host is more there to really control the energy, like, and give each comedian a fair shake.
Yeah.
Like if they bomb and the energy's real low and everyone's like this, I don't know, the show isn't going that great, you got to come back in and bring it back up to neutral. And if the energy's real high from one of those crazy high energy killers that knows how to just murder the mic, then you got to bring it back down for the next comedian so they can all go on the stage and the same thing.
Yeah, you have gigs where after the feature goes off, 100 people go out and smoke outside. You're like, oh shit, I need to do a little bit of time here or something. But I always bring an MC or some sort of opener if it's near, like the Cedar Hill. I brought Elliot. I'm sure there are many comics going, what? Elliot's getting a paid gig? I didn't pay him very much, all right? But
he's putting in the work now.
he's constantly picking my brain. Can you watch my set? Can you, he wants to, he's like I am with pickleball. Like I want to get a lot better at it. And so I felt like, I think I offered him $20 and he's like, you didn't have to pay me. I'm like, shit. But
yeah. I've turned down payments from a lot of different guys that have offered me payments. Like, dude, just the stage time. At this point in time, what you're doing is enough.
I was like, just give me a clean $5. And he went up, and his first 2 jokes, they weren't aware the show was going on. And then he said something, and he did actually. I was like, this is the best I've seen Elliot do.
Yeah, but maybe he's actually one of the comedians that's just always working on new stuff.
No, trust me, he's the whipping boy at the club.
The funny bone. Yeah, I've noticed that you guys got a who is it? There's Elliot, Spencer. I got him coming on, and he's scheduled.
Oh,
he's one of my
yeah.
favorites,
Yeah.
like because he does the one-liners as well, and
Yeah.
some of the things. He's got a couple jokes. It's just like brilliant.
Just
brilliant.
Facebook stuff alone, those fake memes.
Yeah, Ratcliffe's really good with that too. Somebody did a post earlier, and within like a minute, he had a meme built with like the faces swapped in and stuff. I was like, how did you do it that fast?
Yeah, I made a meme last week, and I caught a little shit for it. I took it down when Dustin Diamond died.
Oh. That's a tricky spot I've learned that because who was it that just caught a lot of stuff when the celebrity? Ari Schaefer and I think Spencer actually did too. Caught a little, that culture that comes at you.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that mean, but it was, fans. Oh no, Screech died, and then what's that little fuzzy bear that just looks and then looks back and doesn't? I said comics who have worked with him, and I did that, and then this one booker that, he doesn't book me, but. He was like, I'm sure people could say that about you too, Rob. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. I wasn't an ass. This guy heckled me while I was opening for him. Like, who does that?
That's rough. Yeah.
He was a nice guy through 4 drinks and then went to 5. And he had, Dan Walsh driving up and down Route K looking for stuff after a show. And not to speak ill of the dead, which I'm doing, but whatever.
Yeah, John Matty has a real good similar story about I always forget. Corky Romano. What's his name?
Yeah. Shit. Yeah.
He's got his
Chris
license.
Kattan.
Yeah, Chris Kattan. He's got his ID because he lost his wallet in the back.
Really? That's
he
great.
fell asleep in the back of John's SUV.
Yeah.
And lost his wallet.
Jeez. Yeah, I'd heard terrible things about that guy. He'll be some tragic death. I'd put him on a death pool.
I want to know how they afford to do what they do and live out in California and Hollywood like that. What is what's the average paying gig out there for?
Bumming it. They've got to be just bumming around or something, living in a little shit home.
If I can ever get a movie, just one movie, that's all I need. Set me up financially. Like, take that money and I'm investing it.
Yeah.
To where my money. But you see these guys all the time that get that chance, and then it's just like, what'd you do with it? Who was one of them? MC. Hammer, Vanilla Ice, a lot of the rappers. But comics are the same way. You see a lot of comics that get big gigs, and they're getting paid.
People are like, what are you going to do with it? My wife's like, what are you going to do with that? I'm like, I'm going to put it in my savings. How exciting.
Yeah, well, that's not what they want us to do right now with our money. But that's why they don't want to give us stimmy checks.
We had to get a new roof last year. This tooth right here, right here, this is not connected to my body.
That's how that one is.
This is being held in by a retainer, and then they'll put the implant in a few months, and then the crown by Halloween. Yeah. I have to pop my tooth out every night.
Oh, yeah? Well, this one's real. It's just dying slowly. So
that's how mine was. Yeah. And then they're like, we got to pull it.
Yeah, I went in because my face was all swollen up from it, and he was setting me up, but I didn't have health insurance at the time. I was switched companies, and it was still in my 6 month, whatever. So I just went and got all the antibiotics that they could give me, and threw away. I can't do painkillers because they just make me puke. And I think anytime I've ever tried to needed a painkiller was for my mouth pain or my back pain. It's like I just puke from them, it's just gonna make it worse. Either way. And then I'm brushing my teeth with mouth pain. It's just not worth it. So. But I think that was all the questions that we have. You got anything coming up?
You guys can just email me those if you.
No, I had some, and I asked them. I was like, "Well, what did you want to know?" Because they're like, "Oh, Oh man, I've wanted to talk to him. I was like, well, what do you got to
shit.
ask? What's your questions?
I should
Because
do
we're all
just a video of
intimidated by
that. Oh yeah,
your fame, man. We're starstruck.
that's what people. Can I get your autograph? I'm like, I've written my name on a hall pass so a 10th grader could pee today. So you're getting the same signature.
Oh well, I'm gonna get you to do that on that one.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Just,
definitely.
yeah, weren't you in a new? I was just looking, vetting you. Isn't there a book that they just got your name in? It's like all
Yeah,
comedians that.
yeah. There's like 200 comedians walk into a book or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this author
Yeah, I don't know who it was.
emailed me
Like,
and he's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Just send me a couple pictures, a one-liner, and some bullet points. I was like, one of the things was I played pickleball with old people, and then I'm in that book. My biggest thing that I'm excited about, my little dream right now, is my novel, Around the Block. I wrote a screenplay for it.
okay, that's the newest one. I thought that was the first one.
No, that's 2 books ago.
Okay.
It's yeah. The Vacation was the most recent, and then this one was like 2017, I think,
Okay.
or 18. And there's so much shit on Netflix and Amazon. I was like, these screenplays can't be that great.
Yeah.
And so I wrote it. I had a professional screenplay guy look. I paid him to give me feedback on it. And he's like, well, this character needs this. And you need a scene here and this. I was like, yeah, but does it look like a... He's like, oh, yeah, it reads like a real screen. I was like, okay.
Oh,
I read
yeah,
a few
so-
books on it, Saves
Yeah.
the Cat and all that. And so I entered it in a festival. And the original date I was supposed to hear back by was January 31st. And then like middle of January, they switched it to February 15th. I'm like, shit. So I'm hoping...
Yeah.
like the grand prize is $5,000. I'm not going to win that because it's my first screenplay and whatever. But if I could at least get some sort of heat or something enough of a attention to where I can actually talk to people about making this a movie,
Well,
would be the coolest thing ever. I think.
my old lady's boss, her husband, which I've done a lot of work for him on apartment buildings he owns.
Yeah.
That's where he got all his money from. He now
Really?
owns a bunch of like club fitnesses out here and everything, in the Sweet and Sassy at West
Yeah.
County Mall. And that's
Love
what
that
he
story.
did. He sold he sold a bunch of a few screenplays out in Hollywood and came here because that's where he met his wife and everything.
Yeah.
But he used to go to CDC, hangs out with all the blues players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's people in that upper class, they know how to do everything, and
they just know each other. That's what it is.
I grew up in a house that cost $14,000.
Yeah, you grew up in a house that cost $14,000.
Yeah, my parents bought it in '76 for
Oh, okay.
$14,000.
Yeah, what was it worth now?
My dad didn't really live in it the last 10 years that we owned it, and let's just say he didn't make any money at all. Somebody flipped it.
Yeah, I was going to say because at that price, even the land today is.
It's in town, in a small town right across from an elementary school and a sewer.
Oh,
And a junkyard down the street. We lived in the fancy part of town.
not all property
But,
value goes up.
But the lessons that I learned from poverty, that's why I'm creative, I think, because we didn't have a lot of good shit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
being poor. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment with a brother and a sister, and I know all about keeping the oven door open to keep the shit in the winter.
Yeah.
But I've seen what money is. I've like I said, I got it, and I got a big head from it because I was poor. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what it was like to walk into a bar and then walk out $1,000 richer from going to the bar doing stupid stuff. But I got addicted to that money for a little while, and luckily woke up from it because a lot of my friends didn't, and now they don't have any money, and they're asking me to put money on their books.
Oh, it's. The area shows. I'm hoping to get back in at back to. I was supposed to do January 5th, 6th, but obviously we couldn't. So hopefully he'll get.
Yeah. So you have been talking to him though.
Yeah.
'Cause I really like Mike and his Vit Club.
I just did the Funny Bone a couple weeks ago. So.
How often do you headline that one?
I'll get a lot of last minute things if somebody cancels or if it's like a split week. Matt's been giving me like a week or two. We used to do Teacher Week at the end of the school year in May. Like that was great. It's just teachers. They're done. They can stay up late. They drink and all my teacher stuff. But we obviously couldn't do that this year. But yeah, it's been great out there.
Do you ever do anything for the Helium?
No, because you can feature at two different clubs, but you really shouldn't headline at two different clubs in the same city. Like Cincinnati used to have that problem with Go Bananas, and when they had the Funny Bone there.
So that is a real thing then.
Yeah.
Like if you're like I heard that like if you're in just because of the LA thing, if you're at the Comedy Store, the Improv's
Yeah.
off limits as a headline.
Yeah, Dayton used to have a club called Jokers, and then they had Wiley's, and I didn't do both at the same time, but I went from one and then went to the other eventually, and that was at MC level. So
Man, why can't they all just get along?
yeah, I think it has to do. There are some clubs that like you can't have done a gig within a 100-mile radius here. I think was it like Juniors up in Erie. They used to have some clause about that.
Like a non-compete kind of.
Yeah,
and
it's like, well, nobody's seeing me on purpose. So
yeah, well, I don't know about that. I'm sure you don't have a bunch of students that come and want to go and see.
No, the students. I tell them, I'm like, you want to, let's be real. Yeah. My joke is, I walk through the hallway here about your sex life. Come here about mine.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, they may watch this. I'll plug it. I don't care. Yeah, they're 18 if they can get in. So.
Oh yeah, okay,
So.
yeah.
And their parents too. I'm like, yeah. Again, if
parents,
you have nothing to hide.
Yeah, 18. Well, I was already out on my own by 17. But
okay.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work with a couple of 18-year-olds here, and every now and again we'll get a couple fresh green guys, and the stuff that they'll find for a comedy show, especially one of yours. Mine, they might hear something, a joke to take home that they don't want to say around their mom, but other than that, but I'm trying to work clean. I got 5 minutes worth of dad jokes, pretty much. That's what I've learned. Clean one-liners are just dad jokes. Yeah. That's what they are. Like, pretty simple.
It's hard to write clean because I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's that Ralphie May video that I watched. I think it's very similar to your book. He's not talking about how to write. He's more like teaching you like you should structure your joke this way. Best joke at the end, second best at the front.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't fuck any of the help at the clubs. Don't he gets into all the little
section in that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but he's really straightforward with it. And once I was seeing all your blogs and started reading the book, I'm about halfway. Noticed that that's about the same thing. You're actually what they're gonna expect. It's not like, hey, this is how you should. This is how you write a joke. This is how.
Yeah,
this is
it's that balance of you need to be respected by other comics, the management, and the crowd. All three of those. If one of those is weak, then you're not gonna get as much work. Going back to that with the staff, Fairview Heights used to have a waitress that was, and I got there like, oh, and my buddy's like, trust me, do not touch that girl. I was like, oh, okay. And she was even at a party, and they made like I was like, all right. And then I met my wife 2 years later, and my wife was friends with her. And I'm like, thank God I didn't. Like, she would have never got over that.
Yeah, no, yeah. You want to know. You've heard about that all the time. And then what happens if you're really drunk? You're like, there's one time your friend. No. Yeah, no, when me and my wife met, she was with her best friend, and they were drinking, and her friend was about to move to Florida, and she got sloppy drunk and was, like, trying to sleep with everyone at at that party, and I was like, I'm good on that. I'm not, too drunk for me. And me and my old lady now just ended up listening to punk rock songs while she tried to comb out my hair.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. She's like, I don't like the dreads with vegetable oil. Huh.
Yeah, we met at a bar over in Swansea, but after a show. But I was with Vince Morris. You know him?
No.
He was on a Sex and the City once, and he's got like a half-hour special, I think. He's been on some stuff. But
if I've seen him, if he does comedy, then and he has a stand-up out, I might have seen him because I watch a lot.
But yeah, we went to this complete dive bar, and she was there too with this guy she had friend-zoned, and she hit on me, and I was like, "Oh, cool, here's a ticket." She's like, "No," and she wouldn't come to my shows at the beginning because she was worried I wasn't going to be funny. Yeah. And then how awkward would that be? Yeah,
I watched that vlog with your wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, my wife went to my very first one, and I approached it. I was like, I don't really want my friends to come to my first one and everything. I didn't ask them, what do you think? Is this funny or something? I wanted to do it all on my own. It was kind of one of those things. But John Maddie he found out I was doing it, and I was at his very first open mic 7 years ago or whatever. And he did just about as well as I did.
Yeah.
Probably everybody else on their first one.
Yeah.
Like I said, I opened up.
Oh, I stacked the crowd in mine. I won a contest at my first.
Your first one.
Yeah, it was like they just did a weekly $30 contest at Ohio State in this pizza bar or downstairs, and so I stacked the crowd, clap off. Next week, nothing. So I see that all the time now when kids come back after their first week where they stack the crowd. It's like, here we go. Here's reality.
Yeah.
Why we enjoy people failing, but
there was one I hosted a open mic at Backdoor, and it was right when school ended, and these 3 teenagers came in, 18 years old, and all 3 of them killed it, and I was like, I didn't even want to do comedy. No, when I said that, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. If these 3 could do it, found out that them 3 have been working on that whole senior year, and but one of them had this hilarious joke about 9/11 and being somebody that was like in the building next to him. He's like probably jerking off. And I was like, dude, he's like, how does that even work anyway? And they just really good. I told him, I was like, if you guys stick at it, just keep doing this, you guys could actually make some money with this. 2 of them fell off, never did it, and I still see one of the kids that he goes to like the open mics and stuff at Funny Bone here and there. He's got longer hair. It's like he's got long blonde hair. I don't want to say it's not Zach. I don't know what his name is. Zane or I don't know.
I'll look for him.
Yeah, he's Alex Hayes. I think might be one. Yeah, Alex Hayes. I think is his name. Yeah, he those young kids.
They're funnier now. They've just grown up on the internet and they know. Yeah,
they've been dealing with trolls. They grew up with trolls. And who was the other kid that I'm doing a show with? Elijah. Have you seen any of him? Like he's like 18, 19 now, but he's been doing it since he was like 14.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I've seen him at like the Apotheosis, a couple of the different mics, Funny Bone. He's got a show going on. He's putting together in Cape Girardeau at a club, and then he's doing the competition with me too. So, but he's only 18, 19, and it's like, dude, if you stick at it, once you realize, like, deal with actual life and you learn what real life is. Like you already have the basics figured out. You already have all that.
Yeah. The offstage stuff is what is challenging.
But he's explained his life. You know, it's pretty rough. He's always like, "Hey man, can you give me a ride to the show if I can make it to your house?" I was like, "What do you mean make it to my house?" "Well, I'm walking from Perryville now." I was like, "Dude, it's 2 degrees outside, man." "Yeah, it's all good. I don't mind." I was like, "I do. I'm on the way." So that's what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm having him over here, and he's going to crash out after the show and go ride with the next one. Because I was that kid. I lived in a tent for like a year and a half on the beach just because I wanted no responsibilities. But other than that. So what's your next show?
Saturday night in Macon. Nobody. They're charging $50 for a dinner show package. I texted the lady after I saw. I was like, you may want to lower the price on that for... You know, and she's like, "No, we've already sold 60 tickets." I'm like, "What?" Okay, you may want to pay me more then.
Well, we're gonna renegotiate. Well, that's pretty cool though. Yeah. So I guess
Valentine's weekend's always. I usually get booked being on the cleaner side for that. I actually had to turn. I turned one down too. There was a fallout, and somebody emailed, "Can you work this?" I was like, "I wish I could," because it pays twice as much as the one making Saturday. I was like, "Damn it!" But you don't want to get that reputation for canceling. That just sounds like a humble brag. I'm sorry. I'm gonna see my way.
No, but do you want to? You got any plugs? Any channels or media?
My YouTube channel. I screwed it up. It's like Rob Again 2, and my Rob Durham comedy one's attached to my teacher Google address. Just Google me on there, and there's a bunch of comedy advice. Yeah,
his name's big enough to you type it in, he's gonna pop up. He's got books and shit. Right?
RobDurhamComedy.com and at RobDurhamComedy. I'm gonna start TikTok.
I've I hear it's the thing. Like I've had a lot of comedians.
I was even like TikTok. That's like dating an 18-year-old. Sure, it's legal, but you really shouldn't. Now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I've seen some of my hardest, toughest buddies that are on TikTok doing like stupid videos.
My first one's gonna be Have you ever seen that thing where the girls do where they like touch the camera 3 times and then they're all made up all of a sudden? I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna do it and just take my tooth out. What happened? Right? That'll be
Yeah.
good. That's a good start.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, you should promote your comedy advice, and then just link, clickbait that to your YouTube channel, and you'll get follows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely. The big secret with YouTube right now, and the new thing they're doing to keep up with TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's how if you go onto my channel, you'll see that there's a couple videos on there that got 4,000 views, 3,000 views, and they've only been up for less than a week.
Yeah. How?
It's called the short shelf. You use short videos. You splice up one of your videos that you have. What I do is I take this 2.5 hour long podcast, and each one that you put me down gave great advice or something. I do the thing called comedy tips by comedians, and I just take as long as I try to keep them at 30 seconds, but they say you can go up to a minute. And then in the description and in the title, put #shorts.
Hashtag shorts?
Yeah, it's called the short shelf video. Short videos. It's just clips. You ever go on YouTube and you see those videos that you're scrolling down and then there's that section, and then you can just scroll through and it's just clips that automatically play?
Yeah.
Those are the short videos. They're less than a minute long, and you put that in there and #shorts, and then your videos. Some of them will get picked up. Some won't. You'll see. I'm sure a couple of yours.
So
will.
chop my advice into that into like 30 seconds.
Yeah, minute 30. If you can get it, I've got some down to 15. I've got some that were a minute.
And just put #shorts in the title.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's all I'm gonna do tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you can even look it up on YouTube. Just look up shorts, YouTube shorts, and you can watch. There's a couple good
shorts on shorts.
Yeah, shorts on shorts.
Got
that. And then you got the Robin Hood guys short squeezing.
Yeah, I was trying. My wife and I, we were all gung ho about doing vacation advice with my last book, and she's like, I don't want to be on camera. I hate being on camera. I don't want anyone to know me. There's going to be trolls saying. I was like, who cares? We can make money. We'll be going to resorts for free. We're that couple that. And she's like, no, we're not. And I was like,
she doesn't have to have her face in it. And she can just have hands. Or her voice, a voiceover,
Yeah, she's very good at it too. Like she'll do a shot of Jaeger and then, okay, I'm ready. I can do.
Yeah, my wife's really good at speaking because she's like runs the Sweet and Sassy, does all the hiring and all the training and everything. Yeah. So she'll have like 10 girls in when they do a hiring spree and have to train all 10 at once, and it's like 15-year-olds from Vianney and those really what's the one that MSR, one of the really rich schools that's just letters. It's like the most expensive one in St. Louis.
TDIS.
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
We play them in golf sometimes.
Yeah, I hear some stories from there. I was like, I thought they were paying for top dollar for that education. Yeah. They don't know how to work a mop. That's not included in that education plan they got. So
I got going back to you. I got one video now that every few weeks it'll get like 200 or 300 hits a day, and it's the. Do you remember a couple years ago the teacher handshake? There was like 4th grade teacher has handshake for every kid, and it would be like these inner city, teachers doing all this 10-step. And so we did. I did high school version with my creative writing class. I said, all right, everybody's coming up with their own thing, and they'd walk by. Like one would block my face out and take a selfie. One cleaned his glasses on my shirt. It was just like this quick, very low budget, no sound video, but it got in the algorithm.
Yeah, so
and it'll get.
How long is it?
Not long. It might be only like 40 some seconds. So if
then
I
it's
just
got picked up on the short
and put in short #short.
Actually, if it's been already getting picked up and you see that, you can go to desktop version, not just from your phone, the YouTube. So you go to Studio YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And do that, and there may be a section already to where one of your videos is in that short, and it'll be a little section on your dashboard that says short videos. Yeah, it's. I figured it out. One day I was watching a video. YouTube just regularly plays.
Yeah.
There's content creator because I was trying to figure out some of the algorithm stuff and labeling and
there's
the
probably
thumbnail.
a YouTube video on how to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what. Look up YouTube Shorts on YouTube, and you will learn everything you need to learn.
Oh, I'm not going to bed tonight.
Right. That's how it gets. I was like, you got to do this for a thumbnail. I don't know if I wanted to sign up for all this. I already got to talk to people and everything. But definitely check that out. It'd be a good one. But I'm gonna let you. I know you're married and gotta go all the way back to St. Charles. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, this
really.
is great.
I know I'm a nobody, and you're.
Famous. Again, I'm a high school teacher that gave
like
up on his dream halfway through.
When I first seen you, I was like, I was just watching him on my TV. Like, he's sitting at the open mic. I'm gonna have to kill it. I don't know. I'm gonna bail. I'm bailing. But appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.